Welcome to Soul Rising. We're your hosts, Amy and Erin. We're two everyday mediums who are passionate about taking the woo-woo out of spirituality and bringing it down to earth. So put the kettle on, grab a chair, and join us.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, episode 21. We're going to continue the chat about a little bit about the founder of Spiritism, Allan Kardec, and then start talking about the differences between mediumship and psychic type readings. And then we're going to give you that energy forecast.
Yes,
Sounds
yes.
good?
Because I know we didn't do it last week, but we will do it this week.
We will do
sure.
it this week. So, last week we talked a bit about spiritism, and some of the differences of the soul versus spirit, our opinions, like our thoughts and beliefs, as well as quoted this book, which is written by Allan Kardec, the Spirit's book. So took some direct quotes, definitions out of that book. And so, we didn't talk much about who Allan Kardec was in the last episode, so maybe we'll do that right now. I'm getting that information directly from Wikipedia. So, Allan Kardec was born, let's see if I can pronounce this, Hippolyte Leon Denazar Reveil.
What a name.
I've actually watched this show on Netflix that was French. It was from France, but I watched it with subtitles, and one of the characters' name was Hippolyte. So I don't know if it's like a common name there or what, but yeah, Hippolyte.
It's a French thing.
It's a French thing.
I'm sorry.
So that was his birth name. Yeah. He was the founder of Spiritism, which is what we talked about last week. And again, to recap, Spiritism is the belief in spirits and in the ability to communicate with them. That's like defining anybody who would believe that is a spiritism.
Yeah.
Is a spirit.
A spirit.
Yes.
Spiritist.
So he was born in France, raised as a Roman Catholic, a scholar, university, pursued interest in philosophy and science. All of those.
That makes sense to me because as you were talking even last week about the soul, I just kept thinking about Aristotle's definition of the soul and how he has this whole ethics on being a good person. And I think it's the ethics or the ethics of the soul or something. It's worded differently, but it's something along those lines. So it would make a lot of sense for me if he was studying philosophy too. So already his interest.
Yeah, for sure. So he was married, and his wife was quite interested in this kind of work too. In fact, after his death, she took over for him.
And she sounds like she was a very fierce woman.
Yes, absolutely. There's a movie actually that I watched. I don't know if it's any longer on Netflix. It had been on Netflix. It was a movie with subtitles. It is called Kardec. Kardec. So you can give a look at Netflix to see if that's still up there. I did watch it. It's just from that time period. It's a period piece.
I want to see it. Yeah.
So when he was in his early 50s, this is relatively late in life, especially during this time period. Again, this would have happened in the, he was born 1804, passed away in 1869. So in his early 50s, he became interested in seances, which were popular entertainment at the time. So it was viewed kind of as an entertainment type thing. Strange phenomena attributed to the action of the spirits were considered a novelty. In some cases, this was alleged to be a type of communication. The supposed spirits answered questions by controlling the movements of objects, so as to pick out letters from words. This reminds me like of a Ouija board.
Or they would you'd go through the alphabet. You would say tap for what letter it is, A, B, C, and then you'd hear like a tap on the wall or something when you hit the letter.
So he began his own investigation of psychic phenomena, mainly mediumship, During his initial investigation, he stated that before accepting a spiritual or paranormal cause for some phenomena, it would be necessary first to test if ordinary material could explain them. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like what Alex was doing this morning. Or in the last episode,
He was, yeah, it's a debunk. Yes.
He had
He's trying to find a logical explanation for things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which I think is human nature. It's something that I do as well. I'm a little bit more trusting now where I'm like, yeah, that's just spirit. But certainly there have been times where I've wanted to find the evidence of it.
Yeah, I think it's like for me too, if it was something similar like the lights or something like a physical manifestation, I think then I try to, my mind is trying to logically just explain it. But yeah.
Yeah, I think so for sure.
Yeah.
So let me see. He proposed that fraud, hallucination, and unconscious mental activity might explain many phenomena regarded as mediumistic, but also proposed that telepathy and telepathy.
Wow. Telepathy.
No,
that reminds me of telepathy.
I don't know.
Telepath. I think it's
telepathy.
We're gonna go with telepathy, you guys.
Yes, that's final answer, Alex.
Yeah, we're sticking with it.
Alex
right.
Thinking about Wheel of Fortune. Wasn't that guy's name? Yes. No.
Yes. No.
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy.
Yeah, that's where they
sorry, Jeopardy fans. So sorry.
I wanted to clear it up when I said it because I'm like, I don't know if she thinks I'm like, because I was just talking about your Alex, like whether or not like you're thinking like, why is she saying Alex?
No.
I'm on board. Telepathy and clairvoyance may be responsible. So really he was doing, he started in this work because of a general interest in like kind of wanting, he was open-minded, obviously, because he wanted to see both sides and he kind of wanted to prove, he wanted to investigate this. So he compiled over 1,000 questions concerning the nature and mechanisms of spirit communications, the reasons for human life on Earth, and aspects of the spiritual realm. He asked those questions to 10 mediums, all purposely unknown to each other, and documented their responses. For me,
I think there is a big book on that, like all of that work. Yeah.
I'm really wondering if this book that I haven't like really dived into,
if it has that.
If it does that. So this is called the Medium book.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm wondering if that's it. Well, I swear one time I found it online. Like I think there's a big PDF of it, but I could be totally wrong.
If anybody's interested in this book, The Medium's Book by Allan Kardec, I'll just give you a heads up. It's a very difficult read. So it's written, in kind of a little bit old-fashioned language, but also I believe it has been translated from French to English. So it's relatively a difficult read, which is probably why I've only read a few pages. But this one, for whatever reason, is a little bit easier to me.
What is it called, Amy?
This is called The Medium's Book.
Okay, that is online. I just found it.
Yep, The Medium's Book, and then the Spirit's Book.
Yeah, if folks are interested too, like the whole Medium's Book is online on a PDF. Yeah. So if you just type in Allan Kardec, I typed in Allan Kardec Medium PDF and it popped up. So in case people are interested, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So he documented these responses from these 10 mediums. He concluded that the best explanation was that that personalities that had survived death were the source of at least some mediumistic communications. He became convinced that mediums provided accurate information unknown to themselves or others present, demonstrated unlearned skills such as writing by illiterate mediums, handwriting similar to the alleged communicating personality. That's something that has happened to me, where I've written something not in when I'm doing reading, not in my handwriting.
Oh yeah, same.
And then
same
I've
here.
shown it to the client, and like, that's what my grandmother wrote like. So that has happened to me before. And
that's cool.
Writing in a language unknown to the medium. And also accurately portrayed a range of personality characteristics of deceased individuals. That's something that absolutely comes through.
That definitely comes through. Yes.
So his research, he compiled the medium's responses that were consistent and adapted them into a philosophy that he called Spiritism, which he initially defined as a science that deals with the nature, origin, and destiny of spirits and the relation to the world. So I just want to end with, so his birth name was Hippolyte, as we said, but he wrote under the name Allan Kardec. The reason for that came through like one of these readings, these channelings with mediums. It was a suggestion from a spirit who identified as truth. So he published his first book under the name Allan Kardec.
That's wild to me.
Really cool. Yeah, I think it's really cool. So he passed away of an aneurysm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a picture. There's this big kind of, it's a grave. It's a beautiful grave, and it's, you know, very ornate, and that people are still, you know, leaving flowers and different things there.
Yeah, I'm just like quickly perusing this like the medium's book online. It's a bit it's quite wordy.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, it's pretty. It's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's really, really cool. Some of the things that are coming of it. So I highly suggest people just go check it out.
And I just wanted to say, like, I was reading. So I've got a picture of his grave here. It's in French, but it has the translation. So on his grave it says, "To be born, to die, to be reborn again, and keep progressing. That is the law." I love it.
I love that. Allan, where are you? Where is
it? Come through. Yeah, amazing. I really love that. So that kind of leads in, you know, we're talking about mediums. We are mediums. We're also psychic. So I don't know if you have that written anywhere, like in your on your social media. Like, do you call yourself a psychic medium? Do you know?
You know, I go so back and forth with that, Amy, because I don't really know what to call myself. To be honest with you,
we're not defined. We are undefinable.
We are undefinable. You guys do not put me in a box. Unless you want to call me a witch, I am totally fine with that. I don't identify as one, but I do feel very witchy at times. So, I don't know what to call myself.
Yes. I always feel like witches were women that just were like very intuitive.
Spoke their mind.
Had an innate wisdom, and you know, I can see how that would be scary for the powers that be. Like, I can't control. The person knows things that I don't know, therefore she must die. You know, like
there's a lot of messed up things that white dudes did to women to silence them. Yeah,
absolutely, out of fear. It was all out of fear. It was all out of fear. Yeah. And, you know, like, unfortunately, I still see that in our world sometimes.
Oh, yeah. That it hasn't disappeared.
It hasn't totally disappeared, but we are evolving. We are progressing as a society. These types of things, you know, are much more mainstream, or beginning to be, which is part of our mission. Like, this is the purpose of this of
podcast
work, and the purpose of the podcast. And I have connected to you know, ancestors before that would have, and even I'm thinking of somebody's past life reading I did, where they were like mediums before. They were a medium before at a time when it wasn't okay to be a medium, and it was like, girl, you get out there and you do this work because you can. Nobody's going to hang you or set you on fire. Like, do it. And I think about that often. Like, it makes me a little bit emotional, actually. Like, just being yourself was a reason for people to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrible. I do think it's definitely, like you said, a little bit more mainstream. I mean, I will say I have had very recent experiences of people being like, you don't tell people you do this. Like, why are you even talking about it? You know, which is unfortunate, but and I think maybe you are similar in the fact that we've come to this place of that's your belief and that's okay. But
you know,
is
absolutely. Yeah, no, sorry to interrupt. It was reminding me of this thing I think I posted shared in my stories yesterday or the day before, and it essentially said, you know, like, the very thing that others have told you you're too much about is likely the very thing you came here to do and represents their shadow.
Ooh,
right? So, like, I'm thinking back to me of, like, being called oversensitive. Oh, you're too sensitive. You're oversensitive. And I'm like, my sensitivity is what allows me to do the work that I do. If I was not open and sensitive, I would not be able to communicate with spirit. I
Yeah.
would not be able to, and neither would you.
No.
So it's actually a strength and a gift. So yeah, it probably represents, maybe this unconscious collective kind of shadow, right?
Yeah,
Because
I would say so.
yeah, that history still lives within our DNA, in a way, and our collective memories. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it represents the shadow.
The shadow. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you call yourself though, Amy? Like what is
So interesting. It's been an evolution. So it's funny because when I first started this work, I called myself I first called myself Intuitive Amy Brookes.
Yeah.
Like nobody can judge me for being intuitive. It was Intuitive Amy Brookes, and then it was Intuitive Medium Amy Brookes. The medium was like, ooh, like the big thing.
That was a step. Yeah, it was a good
Into the
step.
shadows, like, well, and then I think it was psychic medium for a little while because everybody knows it's so clear. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows psychic medium. Yeah.
But for like the last at least year and a half, it's been evidential medium. And yeah, I do get questions like, what does that mean? But it's the one that feels the best for me.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
But interestingly enough, just 2 days ago, I was like taking part in this group or whatever, and somebody was explaining, not going to give details because I don't want to like call the person out, but like, talk about things that they don't want to talk about. But this person that I know of had an experience on the weekend in some sort of retreat in which there was a psychic medium or a psychic. I think that she said she was a psychic, but she was talking about things and then like kind of comparing them to me or asking me questions about me. And then I said, there's a difference between psychic and a medium, right? And she's like, really? I use them interchangeably. I thought they were the same thing. And I thought, let's talk about this week because I do feel
it's a good opportunity. Yeah.
I do feel like a lot of people use them interchangeably. Or they might go to somebody says they have psychic readings, so they'll go there and maybe they'll expect to be channeling their past loved one, and that won't happen. So I think that it's a good opportunity to kind of clear the air, at least in terms of like our experience and our thoughts about what the difference is.
What the difference is?
Are they the same thing?
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, for me, psychic is maybe past, present, future readings.
Like a feeling of, it's like another, for me, it's like another, like we use our five senses, and then we'll talk about the sixth sense, and the sixth sense is like this intuitive, like almost like, I don't know, I think it's being sensitive to energy in a way. And I feel like everybody has experienced their
some psychic phenomenon. Yeah.
Or even going, I was just thinking that was going to happen and then it happened. Or I don't know, I was driving and I had this feeling like I should take this road instead of this one. And then there was this big car accident and I avoided it. Like that is your intuition. And that is like a psychic kind of, what's it called? Like a
feeling.
Yeah. And certainly I feel like because I feel like we all do have psychic senses.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I think it's human nature. We might not all call it that because there's a stigma attached to it, maybe for some people, or they just don't think of it that way. But for me, intuition and psychic senses are like hand in hand.
Yeah.
For me. So yeah, I agree with you. It's somebody that kind of can read the energy of you, like the living person in front of you, maybe a room, like an energy, sometimes not necessarily like of ghosts or past loved ones, but just like there's a reason I shouldn't be here today and I'm just gonna like get out of here, right? Like that feeling, or you meet somebody new and we're like, I don't know why I feel so uneasy around
feels
this.
off.
It's like kind of, and I've personally had that experience a lot where I'm like, and then I've judged myself for it because I'm like, why am I being mean? Like, why do I like meaning? Like, why am I not liking this person?
Yeah,
like,
or why am I feeling
like they haven't opened their mouth yet? Why am I like, But I just learned like that's a protection. So I can be cordial, but I don't have to like invite them over for tea. And that's been empowering for me to know too. Like it's not everybody is for everybody, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's something I think I'm still learning and, whoops, sorry, and going through. Um, yeah.
I think like it's a societal thing, and I
Society.
think sometimes, I don't want to generalize and speak for everybody, but for me and like other women that I know, it sometimes can be like harder for us sometimes because we're told we should be nice to everybody, or it's mean, or it's bitchy,
Right. Like this is
and
what
it's like,
you,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's like, is it though? Am I being a bitch, or am I just setting a standard? Like, do
Yeah.
I set boundaries, or am I a
Am I
bitch?
just setting boundaries? Yeah, yeah. And
Absolutely.
well, there's such a big history too with that word bitch, right? Like, sorry.
That's okay. I
People,
I'm like, I'm just gonna let it go.
but there's a really big history with it of like, oh, it's a, you don't want to be that, or you don't want to be the outspoken woman, or, and
Why not?
God forbid you're a woman of color. Like, that's a whole other ball of wax, right? And it's, that speaks your mind. And it's so. It's a lot of societal things that I feel like, I mean, as a society, we still need to learn and unlearn um, a lot of things. I think we're still
Absolutely.
doing that. So, but in saying that, yeah, I feel like when you're psychic or you're sensing energies or something's feeling off, if you're putting up, I would say that's putting up boundaries. I don't think you're being a bad person. You're just like, hey, no. You just said no, and that's okay. Right?
I've actually had that, like, since I've kind of learned that and worked with that, I've actually, because I always find like that the universe will give you examples to like practice what you preach. So
Mm-hmm.
I've even, I mean, we've talked about this before, where I've had kind of a feeling like maybe with somebody that was wanting to have a reading, and I was just like, everything in me was like, no. And then I had to work through this, like, what kind of my person am I to turn somebody away for a reading? Like, I'm doing this out of the good of
Oh,
my
yeah.
heart. I'm doing this on behalf of spirit, and I'm doing this because I want to help and heal. So why would I feel no? And it
Mm-hmm.
was like a process I had to go through.
Yeah.
And I shared it with you, like we talked about it out loud, and it turned out to be the right decision, and it was demonstrated to me that it was the right decision. So the first time, I had kind of like let it go. We didn't end up doing the reading at that moment, but I didn't verbalize, like, hey, here's some other mediums I think would be a better
Would
fit.
be a
I
better
was
fit for you.
afraid to do that. And so then ended up like booking a reading, but then things kind of went sideways before the reading even happened. And then I thought, okay, yeah, like there's an example. I knew it. And so I had to say, you know what? I don't think I'm the right medium for you.
Yeah, and that's okay too.
That's
Like that
okay.
has to
It
be,
doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. But we are like in a culture where if if somebody says like, not for me, we get really offended.
yes. Yeah.
And I think it's like a rejection of sorts, but it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be
It
a
doesn't.
bad thing. It doesn't have to, right?
Because if anything, it's funny because I felt so bad about that. And then like about a week later, that person emailed me and they said, I just wanted to thank you because I was thinking about it. And at first I was kind of like, oh, like what's wrong with me? And then they said, I actually realized that it was a good thing, and it showed that you actually did give a crap about me because you didn't feel like you were the right person for me, and if you were just in it for like whatever, like the money or whatever, you would have done it and maybe it would have been a crappy experience,
Mm-hmm.
and it would have been nothing to you, but like obviously you have my best interest at heart because you knew that you weren't the person for me. And I was like, thank you. Like it just really
That's a good
solidified
validation.
it. Yeah, it solidified that. We can do a whole episode on boundaries one day, and I think that we
We
should,
totally,
because
I think we should.
boundaries keep
Yeah.
coming up in readings I'm doing and like
In my life. Yeah.
in my life. Holy, yeah. So let's get back to topic, I guess. So like we in our opinion, psychic is like that intuitive kind of
That intuitive part of you, that
yeah,
sixth sense, that
so
knowing.
absolutely. So a psychic would be somebody that you might go to for, guidance. Like this is why I actually call my readings intuitive guidance. Do you call them that too? Or do you call it, what do you call it?
I, well, I mean, I just call them like personal readings.
Okay. Meaning
Um,
for you as a person. Like
yeah, and then I have the option for folks because I love just doing like a big mishmash,
yeah.
and I have the option for people if you don't want to connect to a past loved one, we don't have to. We can just do a
Okay.
psychic or an intuitive reading, and that option is just like in these like little very broad, career, love life. Maybe
Yes.
talk about spirituality, or whatever, these little
Guidance.
like boxes. Guidance, yeah.
Yeah, like that's what I say too. Like I do bring through, evidence in an intuitive guidance reading. But it's really a lot focused on not just giving that evidence and that information, but then also the stuff behind it to help. Like somebody recently was like, it's like therapy with a psychic, and I'm like, yeah. And I didn't even realize like that's what I was doing, but in a way I'm like, yeah, and that's the way I like it for me personally, because I wouldn't want somebody to just say, hey, you're going to get married
Yeah.
in 5 years, and this is not the right job for you, and you're going to have 3 kids, and yada, and like not give any information about how you're
Yeah.
going to do that. Because I think it kind of gives the impression that like those are set in stone and absolutely will happen. And what I have discovered through the work of doing this work and connecting with spirit is that we all, like actively co-create our lives.
Yes.
So those things are probabilities and we can have them, but if we don't do anything to get there, we're not going to get them. So I sometimes think that like just giving a prediction, I mean, that's what some people want, but for me, it's just like, I'm not that kind of reader. I will give you that piece, but I'm also going to give you some guidance of how to get there. And that's why I call it intuitive guidance. That came up just the other day, actually, in a reading that I did, because she was like, it was like almost like a therapy session. Like, but yeah, so that for me is what a psychic is. And then mediumship for me, I always just say is connecting to, loved ones.
The ability to connect to your past loved ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at Wikipedia here. It says mediumship is the practice of purportedly mediating communication between spirits of the dead and living.
Mm-hmm.
Practitioners are known as mediums or spirit mediums. There are different types of mediumship or spirit channeling, including seance, tables, trance, and Ouija. Belief in psychic ability is widespread. Scientific researchers have attempted to ascertain the validity of claims of mediumship. So then it says an experiment undertaken by the British Psychological Society led to the conclusion that
psychical research.
Led to the conclusion that the test subjects demonstrated no mediumistic ability. That's interesting. Mediumship gained popularity during the 19th century when Ouija boards were used by the upper class as a sort of source of entertainment. So we kind of talked about that in the history of spiritualism and the time periods and that kind of stuff. So let me see, we've got so then there's spiritualists classify types of mediumship in 2 categories, mental and physical. We talked about this before, I think. The mental, so you and I would be more like mental mediums.
We would be mental mediums,
Yeah, so they tune into the spirit world by listening, sensing, and seeing spirits or symbols. Again, like it's all in the third eye. A physical medium is believed to produce materialization of spirits.
Yeah, so this is where like ectoplasm, like all those older photos too you've seen of mediums in chairs, and there's like this like white seeming like substance that's either coming out of an orifice like of their body. There's a lot to that. Like there's some, I've heard people who are like, hey, I've actually seen this happen, like it's a real thing. But I know there's another side to it. As we know with anything, there's people who are not telling the truth, and there's some dishonesty with that. So a lot of that stuff too in like the 19th or the 1920s or 30s, got kind of debunked a little bit.
You got to remember, that was actually at the time when all of this was a form of entertainment. So it makes me think that a lot of
the lines were kind of blurred.
Yeah, and maybe a lot of people had gone into it not as actually people that knew they were mediums or
Yeah. Or, right, the other thing happens is you think, "Oh, I'm just doing this to make money or whatever." And
And
then
then they end
stuff
up being,
actually
yes,
happens,
yes. That reminds
right?
me of a book that I read. It wasn't like based on truth or anything. Well, it was, but it wasn't based on facts. But there's a book I read where I think I said this to you, and I was gonna send you the book. I'll give
Maybe
it to you
you,
next time I see it.
yeah.
Yeah, it was back in like the 1920s in New York, and it was like a mother and a daughter, and the mother was like a stage medium, right? But she
Yeah.
was a fraud. Like she did it for money, but like they have seances at their house, and the daughter was actually a medium. And so she
Mm,
was experiencing this stuff, but the mother was
all
just
this
a
stuff.
fraud. Yeah.
I
Um,
can see that. Yeah.
yeah, but
There's some really cool, like Harry Houdini. I don't know if you
yeah,
know or listeners know, was a big debunker. Like he did not believe in this stuff.
he
He
was
was
actually
like,
in this book.
he was in that, but I'm not surprised.
the,
Yeah.
the daughter was actually, again, this is not
Like
a
a
work,
fiction.
this
Yeah.
is fiction, but in the book the daughter was actually the daughter of Harry Houdini, and he didn't know, but like the mother and him
Oh,
had a relationship or whatever, and it was suspected that she was, and she met
that's
him.
a cool story.
It
I
was
want to read
really,
that now.
yeah, I'll send it to you. It was
Yeah.
really cool too, because there was this they talked about how, the military, and I actually, was it on that same Netflix special that we talked about with the physical medium?
Oh, it
Um,
could have been. Yeah, because there's the life after death. Is that it?
Life After Death is the one with Tyler Henry, the
Oh,
medium.
right.
Surviving Death is the one.
Surviving death is the
Yes.
other one.
In
Yeah.
that
Okay.
one, I feel like there is an episode, correct me if I'm wrong, I might be quoting like another show, but I feel like there's an episode in which
Mm.
they do like it's at like a military base or something, and they talk about military like intelligence and how they would employ
I don't know if it's that
mediums.
one, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. They would
Yeah,
employ mediums to like go into a state of trance and to do
yes,
some what is it? Like what's the word when you're like astral, almost like astral projection
yes.
into the the
See like
enemy,
what was
quote
going on.
unquote, yeah,
Yeah,
to see what was going on the other
yes,
side, and vice versa. And
yeah.
actually I heard recently on another podcast, shout out to Bigfoot Collectors Club, I don't know if anybody also listens to that, but they were talking about how they would employ these people, and eventually they actually got together in like an astral travel experience in the dream world, and they basically said, why are we doing this? And it stopped.
Not cool.
All that intelligence that the military was getting, yeah, totally stopped, because they were like, this is ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really, really cool. But yeah, so for us, what I had said to this person in this conversation the other day was, do you know that a psychic and a medium are different things?
Yeah.
It can be different things. And she's like, what do you mean? Because I use them interchangeably. This person said she was a psychic, and I said, okay, well, to me, a psychic is somebody that can, pick up on past, current, or future-based information, kind of energetically, like psychic,
Collectively,
right?
yeah.
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 That comes through and is like very pertinent to you as an individual. Um,
Mm.
Mediumship is different. So there can be a blending of psychic and mediumship in a reading, which is why people call themselves a psychic medium. So what I have always learned, and you can let me know if you agree with this, I have always been told that every medium is a psychic,
Mm-hmm.
but not every psychic is a medium.
I totally agree with that.
Yes.
Because not every psychic is like, I would like to channel people who have passed away. Not everybody wants to do that work, because it takes a lot of energy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, yeah. So if you're a medium and you have the ability to channel past loved ones, it's just kind of widely thought, and I think believed, experienced, at least through us and other people that I know that do this work. You also pick up on those kind of predictive or past, current, and present things as well. So it's a combination of the two.
It comes up. Sometimes it comes up too as like if they had just recently done something. How I've always been working is like, yeah, right? Like one time I was like, did you just buy a new vacuum? Totally random. I just got this image of a vacuum, right? And she looked at me and was like, yeah, literally yesterday. And I was like, there you go. And all those little bits of information it's just validation that your loved ones are still around and watching over you. And I think that's really beautiful when that stuff comes through.
I had a vacuum piece of evidence come through before too, and it was like this person had been. It's funny because so I hadn't asked like, who do you want to come through or anything like that. I just did the reading. I went in blindly and I brought through this specific person. And then this specific spirit kept bringing up like a ring box. And at the end of it, it was, she told me like, yes, this is who I wanted to come through. And I actually wanted her to come through so she could tell me where this ring is.
Right? Yeah.
Because she had like inherited something.
Yeah.
And what I was seeing was like, I kept seeing vacuum lines on the carpet. I said, did you just vacuum? Because I see those lines on the carpet. And I said, I feel like also wherever you store the vacuum, the ring is like somewhat close by to it. And she's like, I just vacuumed. And the vacuum is like literally next to the dresser, like where the ring would have last been seen. And I was like, I feel like it's still around there somewhere. But that's the kind of stuff that comes through where you're like, the loved one, the past loved one is also giving that psychic kind of
information, which I love. I told you the Canadian Tire story, right? Have I said that one?
Yeah.
I love that story because you just know when somebody's like, okay, like, you know, maybe I buy into this, you know, maybe you're legitimate. And then you pull something like, are you going to Canadian Tire, which is a hardware store, and the eyes just light up, like going almost out of their sockets.
Yes, that.
How would you know that stuff, right?
Yeah. And that's, I think, what we mean by when we say we are evidential mediums. That's what that means.
That's the evidence part that comes through.
That's the evidence, so that you do trust it in some way. It reminds me of the other day, I did like an intuitive guidance session. So it wasn't necessarily that we were connecting to past loved ones, although I did feel the presence of some. It was more like guidance for her, and all this stuff came through. Like all it did, I sometimes say an intuitive guidance session is not necessarily, for me, from my perspective, there to surprise you or tell you things you don't know. It's more often to validate
your feelings already
and what you know, because we are reading your energy. So I said, I find it really empowering because I'm valid. And it's like, so in this reading, you know, things came through, and there was one thing. I won't give too much information. Well, I guess it's okay because I'm not going to like call the person out, but I said, I brought up this person. I said, you have a daughter? And she was like, yes. And I said, did you have your daughter quite young? And she said, yes. And I said, you chose your daughter at the time and she chose you. Like it was the time.
Wow.
Like,
it was just the time to do it.
She was really young. And she's like, yeah, like, and I knew when I was pregnant that she was meant to come at this time, even if like everything in your life otherwise would be like, it's not the time for a baby. But she's like,
yeah.
She's like,
it just felt like the time.
She planned it because she felt so strongly. And you know, then something else came in about the car, and I said, we were talking about spirit guides, so I like brought through her spirit guides, and I said, they're telling me that the car is your place. So you want to connect to your spirit guides, my arm here standing up as I say this, go to the car. And she was like, oh my God. She's like, 2 days ago, I was at work and I was telling people at my work that I feel like really connected when I'm in my car, and that like I can feel like I talk to them. And I was like, this is what this reading is all about. It's just to validate how intuitive you are and that you can trust it. Because now you've got this third party of the stranger telling you times in your life know. When you knew something and it's coming through as random evidence to go, see, start trusting yourself.
Yeah. Yes, like, exactly.
You know what you're talking about. And she was like, that was so empowering. Yeah. Yeah,
I think that's where we are so similar too in our readings. Yeah.
I don't want to just tell you like, yeah, you're going to get married in 5 years and then end the reading. Like,
no, because I've had readings like that and I didn't like them personally.
Oh, and when and what do I feel like, you know?
Yeah, I had somebody randomly. I think I was at a it was really cool, and I'd love to do this one day. But it was like at a dinner, and they had these mediums or psychics and mediums. Maybe both, coming to the restaurant and giving readings as you were having your dinner, and they'd, you know, come and say, is it okay if I come and connect with you? Even before the dinner started, some woman came up to me and said, he's coming, you're going to have 3 children. Goodbye. And just left. And
what?
I was like, what?
Yeah. 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 I know.
Anyways,
Everybody works differently.
everybody works differently.
Yeah, I think it's good to
It's not to
explain.
bring that person, down. I just,
Yeah.
for me, it didn't feel right. It wasn't a good experience
Wasn't
for me.
right, because what we always say, there's a medium for everyone. So
Yeah.
in the case that I was using the example of me not feeling like something was a good fit, maybe the way I work or the way I bring through evidence or the way I speak or the way that I interpret would not have been impactful for her. Maybe she needed somebody else.
I agree.
Because I always say, like, spirit uses our frame of reference. And we have evidence of that all the time, like something that we're familiar with or that we know, or so I think that you can trust that too when you're looking for somebody. But I thought this question was
It's a good question.
pretty relevant too, because when I went on Google and I was like mediumship, psychic, the top questions that were coming up is, do I go to do I go to a psychic or a medium? Like, what is the difference?
Who do I go to?
Yeah, who do I go to? So I think in general, if somebody is calling themselves just as a psychic, right, identifying as that, you're probably going to get more of those past, present, based, predictive kind of information. And if you see somebody as advertising as a medium, you can trust that they probably also have the ability to bring through things like that, but they also have the ability to connect to somebody in spirit for you. So just to keep that in mind. It's both beneficial for different reasons, and some people are like, oh no, I don't want to connect to anybody in spirit, like that's too scary. So yeah, like I want the predictive kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's just about knowing what you want and
what you want and what works for you. Yeah,
absolutely. But I just think it's a good thing, because I've heard so many times, like, what's the difference? Aren't they the same thing? No. And if you were really hoping to connect to somebody in spirit and you went to somebody that didn't connect to spirit, you might be like, oh, right, like I thought that you
could. Yeah,
disappointed.
I thought that you could.
Yeah. So 100%. Let's pull a card. Are you good with that?
Yes, I was so if you were watching me on YouTube, I just was picking up my cards because some of the
I've already pulled my cards. I don't know if you want me to go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Interestingly enough, the symbology on this card, the symbols, it just kind of gets me, because just this morning I've been seeing crows a lot, and this card has a crow on it. So I love that. So this is from the Everyday Witch Oracle. Speaking of witches, we were talking about that earlier.
Oh my God, get out! I pulled a witch from a witch oracle card deck.
Oh my God! And I pulled this card.
We didn't tell each other this. Yeah.
No. And I had this deck over here like before we even.
Me too.
That's so cool. Okay.
That is so cool.
We're definitely.
We're vibing. Okay.
So this is the Everyday Witch Oracle. The card that I pulled, I just think it's so beautiful. It's called Listening to Wisdom. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the card. Lots of pink purples.
Beautiful. Look at that
an
crow.
Indigenous woman here, and she is got her hand cupping her ear, listening, and there's a crow coming down to speak in her ear.
I've got chills with that.
So this says, I'm just going to read it out to you. So it says, we spend a lot of time surrounding ourselves with noise, television, phones, even our own voices. It can be so hard to hear anything about the constant hum and buzz of everyday life. But sometimes you have to take the time to be quiet and listen, really listen. Maybe the universe or the gods have been trying to tell you something and you haven't been able to hear it. Maybe it is your own inner wisdom that is crying out to be heard. The reason that I really like this deck is it says that, but then it also has like an action step, a divination step, and a magic step. So the action step is simply asking you to go someplace where you can be quiet this week, where you can kind of maybe dim the lights, it's kind of disconnect from your surroundings in a way, sit by a bottle of water. Maybe it's like for that one person, it's go sit in her car. Don't do anything, quiet your mind as much as you can and ask, is there anything that I need to know? And then listen, and the answer will come from within. So just a reminder to make time for that. Right? We've been talking a lot about running on autopilot, which most of us do, and how we believe that everybody kind of has psychic senses. Some of us just don't take the time to listen to them, but they are there guiding you. So then the divination meaning says, this card is trying to tell you that you're missing something, whether it is someone close to you, the gods, or just your own inner wisdom trying to tell you something important. It is, I love this because she uses caps. It's time to shut up and listen. I love it. I love it. I love it. So yeah, this is just, it feels like maybe intuition, the energy of the universe right now, whether what's going on with the planets, like I don't know. I know I was reading something recently that said right now until like sometime in April or something, everything is kind of aligned, nothing's in retrograde. So it's like the perfect time to get stuff done, but also because that's also interference and noise, right? When things are going on in the planets. In the
like
universe.
it's a lot. It's busy. There's busyness going on.
And those of us that are energy sensitive feel it.
Feel
it, right? Feels like overwhelmed. So because everything's kind of like feels more clear and more open, that you're probably going to be able to be more of an open channel. So just this is your invitation and encouragement to take the time. Set the intention. Also came up in a reading a couple of weeks ago where the person was like, how do I feel like I want to connect with my spirit guides and I have rituals and I do the whole thing and I feel very open to it. And what I heard was, you just have to ask. Like, you just have to go, hey, I want to hear from you today. And then they come through. So this is your week to ask.
Yeah.
Whether you want to ask your past loved ones, whether you want to ask your guides, whether you want to talk to God, whether you want to just ask your own intuition, whatever it is, just ask and then listen. Quiet time. Make even 20 minutes.
It's time to take a pause and to listen to yourself. Listen to that voice.
And Aries, like this energy with Aries is so busy and go-getter. And it's just like, I feel like if you take the moment to, it's very like almost like I'm running on autopilot. I'm busy. But if you take a moment to just pause, even that 20 minutes, I just feel like the clarity that you will get in the moment will just help you like it would be, what's the word I'm looking for? It will just help you have clarity of like how to take the step. Like I feel like it will ensure the success in what you're doing if you just take that moment.
Okay, so I pulled from, this is called the Modern Wiccan Box of Spells, Oracle card deck.
I don't think I've ever seen you pull from that before.
No, I haven't. Well, I haven't used it in a while. It's by Jillian Kemp.
Okay.
And it's just really cute. I like the images on some of these cards, and it also comes with a little bit of like a spell that you can also do. So I love that. So there's some action as well. So I pulled the Healing Witch. So I'll just show it for people who are watching on YouTube.
Oh man, she's got the tray of like, almost looks like an apothecary.
Yeah, she's got some herbs there, a lot of greenery around her. So it says the Healing Witch, I'm reading from the book, reveals unfailing support and guidance, influencing your romantic heart with presenting truthful knowledge. She nurtures others with warmth and comfort, a situation that heightens your intuition. That's cool, right? And renews your willpower soon makes someone you know feel better. Your own life will be bright because you seek the light and face the sunshine. And this is cute. So it says, a spell to wish someone better. So it says, cast the spell on a Thursday. I don't know why a Thursday, but there we go.
Thursday, dude.
It is Thursday. I didn't even realize that. Like, why Thursday? Erin, today is Thursday.
That's funny.
That's hilarious, right? Like, that is too good. Okay. Go today. Well, for Thursday for you. It's us for today. So whenever you're listening to it, go on a Thursday. Go to an oak tree. If you cannot find an oak tree, you can use any other looking tree. Place a mushroom in a crook of the tree's branches. Pick up a stone from the ground and place it in another crook of the same tree. This represents the strong health of the person concerning you. But as the mushroom withers, so too will ill health. The person's health represented by the stone will share the same fate as the tree. If the tree thrives, so too will the one you wish well. Interesting little thing. Yeah. But I like the whole go to a tree and put a stone or put something there and then put another stone there to like balance the energy and to wish that person good health. Yeah.
Seems like a focus on energy, or sorry, I focus on healing.
Yeah.
intuition.
Also talks about, I feel like, going within as well. Like the healing always comes within.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the answer is always to go within. The clarity comes when you go within. So, and emotions, like allow yourself to feel your emotions, let them flow through
Exactly.
you without judgment. Have compassion for yourself, because our emotions are messengers. They are the body's messengers. So
Yes,
yeah,
100%.
me too.
Um,
I love that.
I was hoping I could share this really quickly. I know we're kind of
Absolutely.
going over time. I just wanted to share this comment that we got on our podcast. I asked her if it was okay that I share her comment, because it just sort of really rings true with our, overall goal with this podcast. And it says, she says, I have been binging on your podcast this weekend. Thank you so much, first of all. Currently on episode 6. And she says, although I did jump to both Spirit Guides episode, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and experiences surrounding all things spiritual. It is a great comfort to know that some of the experiences I've had recently are nothing to be fearful of. And she says, especially with hearing a radio in the background, which we've talked about before. She says, the way that you both bring a sense of humor to connecting with guides, angels, the universe is allowing me to lose some of that fear and anxiety I have been connecting and fully trusting in the guidance that I receive myself. It has been quite a lonely path for me so far, and I think we both can relate to that, or everybody who's sort of on a similar journey can definitely relate to. It can be hard to sort of find people that you connect with and people that kind of vibe with you. But she also says, it has been quite a lonely path for me so far, as there has only been no one I found that talks about the reality of spiritually awakening in a relatable way, hearing voices, feeling a presence or energy, self-doubt, and everything, etc., etc. But you both take it in stride, and this comes across beautifully when you have your chats. You normalize what is believed by many to be abnormal. Your down-to-earth attitude and your honesty is so valuable. I'm beginning to feel a little spark of encouragement and excitement that perhaps it's time to explore my gifts further. Thank you so much. I love that so much, and so I just want to thank that person again.
Much. To our listener
to our listener, and
that made my day. So that came through on Monday morning,
yeah,
like in the morning, and I read it when I was drinking my coffee, and I was like, oh, this just made my whole week, my whole month.
Yeah. And that's exactly our goal with this podcast. So we hope, just like she is, you're also, other folks feel very similarly. So yes. Thank you again.
Thank you for writing that to our listener. Shout out.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for letting me share it too. So
for sure.
But yeah, this was wonderful. So much fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So stay tuned. Next episode next week, episode 22. 22, my favorite number.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, and tune in each week as we dish on all things spiritual.
Don't forget to like, comment on what you would like to hear us talk about next, and subscribe.